to the Healthy Business Podcast. I'm Ty King with American Business Engine. With me always,
Jessica Tolliver with CAM Collaborative.
Awesome. How are you?
I'm great.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was funny.
That was
I just
too
walked.
quick. Yeah.
I walked in, and one of the people that just walked in, she says, "You walk in here, and it looks like you don't need your coffee because you're just so up." I'm like, "Coffee calms me down." I get a cup of coffee.
Really?
A couple cups. Yeah, I'm high functioning ADHD.
Okay.
And I don't want to go to the doc. I don't want to take the time because I'm too busy and too amped up to go through all of the hoops that you have to go through. I don't know if you know this or not, but you have to go through a lot of psychological evaluations. You have to go through a lot of different things, a lot of to prove that you have this. And then they'll give you the drugs that can bring you down. So
Yeah.
it's like Adderall type things.
Sure.
And it's just very time consuming, and I don't want to. So I taught myself they're full of like legal stimulants, and I just chill out.
Okay. You're drinking with caffeine,
Yes,
and it calms you down.
absolutely.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, yeah, sure. I don't know. I guess I've been drinking it for so long, and I drink it throughout the day. You know what I mean? So like, it doesn't have a huge effect on me anymore, but it does like help first thing in the morning.
It
Gets me
doesn't
up.
wake me up. I wake up, my brain's like, hello, and my body
Yeah.
follows along, and then by the time I get here, I'm just like, okay, we need to sink the body in the mouth
Yeah.
so that my tempo comes down a little bit.
Okay. Awesome. Well, how are things around here?
Busy.
Busy.
Good busy,
Yeah.
yes. Nothing new, really. Yes, something new. I've been meeting, I had another meeting with a chiropractor who's looking to do some consults out of our space, so we'll be having
Nice.
consults here. He's actually currently located in West Little Rock,
Mhm.
and we were talking about reach, and although West Little Rock's a great place, and the crow flies is not far.
Mhm.
It actually is a barrier to entry for a lot of people in North Little Rock, for people in downtown, for people in South Benton, Bryant area. For a consultation, many of them won't make that leap to go to West Little Rock. But if they make the consultation somewhere in downtown, which is still a little bit of a drive for them, but it isn't as daunting,
Yeah.
and they find out they're a candidate that they could get relief from the aches and pains, the problems that they have, because he specializes,
Okay.
then if someone says, you are a great candidate for our therapy to cure your migraines, or to at least get them under control, and you hear that, that's a much greater impact as far to go to West Little Rock to get treatment, as opposed to saying, maybe this treatment will work, I'll see about a consult.
Right.
So we're trying to incorporate that, which is great for us because it makes it easy for our clients to refer over who may be good candidates for the therapies. So I'm very excited about that.
Very cool.
Something actually did change.
Yeah. So I got a question for you this week.
Okay.
I'm going to talk to you about some things.
Scary. Hopefully I have the answer.
Yeah, well, you should. So I'm sure you dealt with some of these before. And so when you're giving a service or a product out there to the general population, that type of thing, so like you offer massage therapy, and there's so much under this roof alone, you know what I mean? Or that floor, whatever you want to call that, yeah. So you offer a lot of different services and things that people can come do, including coming in, like serving themselves, helping self-care room type of thing. And now you've got, like I said, chiropractor, and you guys have yoga. So I know it's long drawn out. You hate that, don't you?
That's your
when
thing.
When I start off with like 50 paragraphs to get to my point, but I've got to lead up to the story.
I hear you.
This
This
is
is
the prologue.
backstory, yeah.
Yeah. This is the prologue. So we're getting to the chapter 1 eventually. Okay. When you're giving all those services out to the community, right? How do you approach the way that you serve people that have special needs? They don't fit under the same umbrella as everybody else. So let's say
a little
for
more
you,
backstory.
Yeah.
Yeah, narrow that down just a bit. Like the clients have special needs, like someone who is in a
Yes.
wheelchair, or
Well, okay, so that's one thing. But
Okay.
like you, obviously, massage therapy, right, is a lot of hands-on touching. So let's say somebody that has psoriasis, or even a severe sunburn, or scoliosis, or how do you approach those differently than you
Okay,
do?
I think I understand your question, and I actually just went over this with the students recently. It is, when we're young and we're not thinking about what do people think, from the mouths of babes, they say. They open their mouth like, oh my God, what's that growth on your face? And it's a zip the size of Wisconsin. They're not afraid to say that. Well, you can't really say that to clients. You can't really say that to people that are probably insecure about whatever their issue is,
Sure.
whatever their thing is. But at the same time, if you're developing trust, you have to be honest. So when someone has something that's going on with them, if they don't disclose it up front, and they don't say, hey, I have this thing, then that opens the door. We can talk about whatever we want.
Sure.
But if they don't disclose it and I discover it, it depends on what it is. So if it's something like a sunburn, I'm like, oh, that looks a little tender. They feel some heat. Allow them to explain. I'm not going to say, what'd you do? Because they might have been doing something compromising that they don't want to talk about.
Sure.
But we don't offer that. I try to keep the conversation very narrow in the room as to what it affects. Does it hurt when I touch that? Things that are going to affect me. If it's scoliosis, we'll say something about the curvature of the spine. I notice there's a slight curvature here. Have you been diagnosed with scoliosis? Or maybe not even that. I'll ask them about, normally when you bring it up, they know. Most people know those types of things.
Right.
And occasionally you'll come up with someone who has some weird skin issues. I'll say weird, different skin issues.
Yeah,
where you'll see like some abrasion or some redness or something like that. And it'll be interesting, does this area bother you? And that will usually trigger them to say, oh yeah, I have psoriasis. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so like you have a standard way of delivering what you do to people who are just average health, what we consider average, right? So people that don't have like any abrasions or anything like that, they're fine. You can just go out, you can dive right in and get to the usual, you know what I mean? But when you have somebody that comes in with, I guess like sunburns and like psoriasis and all this stuff, do you have to do your services differently? Do you adjust it?
Absolutely.
So that you're not damaging them,
Exactly.
Right.
So my services are different than your typical massage therapist. So you go into a big box store, massage therapy place, chain, whatever, and those are great. Those are fine. Not disparaging that at all. Or even a smaller boutique or a spa. You're going to go in there and you're going to fill out your minimal healthcare intake. You're going to hopefully just tell them whatever things you got going on. You're going to lay on the table. Someone's going to come in. You're probably going to disrobe. They're going to put some lotion on you. Hopefully you tell them what you're allergic to, and you have a front back massage. Leave really relaxed and skin hydrated. I don't do that. So when my people come in, I'm like, why are you here? And they'll tell me usually it's because they have an injury or they've been referred because they have mobility issues or they're trying to improve their golf game or they're trying to do something that's not just relaxation. It's more therapy. But they're not injured to the point where they need to go to the doctor. They're just trying to do some self-care, trying to take care of it on their own. And we talk about whatever their issues are. And then I make a plan, which is going to be different for every person.
Sure.
But for the general speaking, I do also say there are some things I say to everyone. And one of them is especially if they're a new client, I'll say, just so you know, massage therapy is a hands-on modality, so I will be placing my hands upon you. If at any point you feel uncomfortable, either physically or emotionally, please let me know. We can make adjustments to accommodate that. We can either stop or change out. And so I give them that power at the very beginning. I say, this is on you. If you don't like what's happening, if you're uncomfortable, either physically, and I throw emotionally in there, because if sometimes you just might be triggered. You don't know. A song might come on the radio that I had no anticipation. I don't really have a lot of songs, but this, whatever might come in the background, or there might be a siren on the road outside that I can't control, I don't know about, and maybe they weren't anticipating, and they need to know up front that they have the control to make those changes and those choices.
Sure.
And so I do. That is a can type of thing. I do make sure I say it to everyone, and I say it to everyone because I want to make sure I don't forget to say it to anyone.
Yeah.
So even when if you were to come in and I know you and we've known each other for years, and you were to come in and sit on my chair for the first time, I'm going to say that.
You're still going to go through the rigmarole.
Yeah, there's still a few things that are going to come out. But as far as is a can type thing, I don't really have that because it is individual. It is I'm not a full body type person. I'm going to work on where the issues are. If you tell me your shoulders are hurt, we're going to do some assessment. We're going to figure out where that's coming from. We're going to try and work on that. And I always give people the option several times, like, is that too much? Make sure the pressure's okay. Make sure I'm not damaging you.
Sure.
So I do make sure that happens, but I don't have a canned speech for every person. Does that help? That answer?
Yeah,
okay.
that does. Yeah. I was thinking, we always approach different topics that affect, all business, owners. Eventually, like these problems you're going to run into, and I think that's one that we don't really prepare for, and like nobody tells us to prepare for it, and so like when you do run into that, you're like, it's the first time. Yeah.
My favorite story to tell when I was very newly licensed and very newly to the public, and I had a friend who had a spa, and she asked me to come fill in because she was down with a therapist. I'm like, sure. So I'm working there, and I've only ever had 2 clients in a day, and one was a family member. I'm really, first year probably, maybe second year. And got some money on the table, and this is one of those places where they're churning them through. So they come, someone else preps the table for you, someone else does this, you come in, you work, you get out, and they're just churning them out. So I come in, and I'm working on this lady, and she's face down, and we do the face down, we flip her over, I start going, and one of the things that I was doing at the time was I had a routine. And I would take the hand and I would rub the fingers in the hand, and I would come up and rub the thumb, and I would rub the first finger and then the middle finger and the ring finger, and then she had no pinky.
Oh.
Freaked me out. I mean, luckily
and
I
it probably
did.
showed on your face.
Luckily she had her eyes closed, because I'm like, where's the finger?
Yeah.
And I was really on autopilot, and that was one of the times that I really, I tell this story a lot because it really got to me, because I was on autopilot.
Yeah.
And in a therapeutic situation, you can't be. And in any sales, anytime you're trying to connect with someone, you can't be on autopilot, because people will detect that. And that was a turning point. It's kind of a silly thing. I'm not sure she noticed. She may have. I don't know. But I realized that I should have noticed, because I should have looked at her hand. I should have. My thing was, I look if I'm going to be going, at that time, you look when you're going places that might be near other places, but a hand is very distal, so you can touch a hand without having to worry about actually touching something else.
Yeah.
And so I grab the hand, I'm doing the thing, and it was a very big turning point for me to be present for my clients. And not just in healthcare. I recommend that for anybody, whatever you're doing. Whenever you're selling something, talking to a client, you're selling them a car, you're trying to sell them web services, you're whatever it is, if you are present with your client, they're going to know, and you're going to gain that trust that you need to have not only close a sale, but gain a client, gain a long-term relationship with someone.
Sure, yeah. And for like digital services like that you say, we have to go by, there are guidelines that are out there that we have to, every website has to be fit to certain guidelines that have been put in place. I couldn't tell you who it was, government, I don't know.
Yeah, like
some regulations board,
certain types of
knows?
contact information have to be there, so yeah.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, for people that are, not blind, obviously, but they're hard of seeing and have trouble navigating or finding things, like your titles have to be a certain way. You have to have like a site map at the bottom of your websites. You've got, there's just several different things that
otherwise you're turning that demographic off, because their systems aren't working.
Right. And you don't want to lose those, the customers and clients anyway. Like, why would you want to exclude people that want to buy? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But yeah, I was just thinking about that, because it's kind of different. And like with massage therapy, I was like, that's something that's like really personal. So like whenever you have somebody that comes in and they have a special need where you have to sort of turn your services, but you're like, you do have your rigmarole where you go through the very beginning. You're like, this is what I say to everybody. But then you have an individual, specialized way that you deliver that to everyone anyway.
I do. And one of the things that I do, and this is kind of weird, but I've learned that most of what I do is mental. Most of what I do is talking to the brain. I mean, even all the physical stuff is still talking to the brain. I'm telling the brain, relax this muscle. I'm telling the brain to stop being anxious over here. I'm telling the brain all the physical stuff. So I stay within scope as far as physical stuff, but I've also learned that if that person is not on board with what I'm doing, that they're not going to be on board with what happens. Their brain isn't going to say that these muscles can do what I want them to do.
Sure. And
that's actually backed by science. There's been some studies where they've shown that people under general anesthesia do not respond to massage and body work like in a like a mobility move, won't respond to that because their brain wasn't connected to what was happening. So the first thing I do with most clients is I encourage them to purge. And I don't say it that way. I'm like, what's going on? What's happening? How are you feeling? What happened?
Yeah.
I do a lot of probing questions, and you'd be surprised how many times they'll just go off topic, purge, but then they're present with me. They're no longer worrying about whatever's been moving around in their brain. And I listen enough to kind of get the high points, but then I leave it in the room. It's not mine to take home, so I don't take that on. I'm not their therapist. I'm not trying to solve problems. I just get them talking a little bit, and then they purge what's on the top of their brain. And then they're there with me. I'm there with them, and we make progress.
Yeah. I think on some level, like every business, if you deal with customers and clients directly, like you are somewhat, you have to be their therapist at the same time as like delivering whatever services you, and you can't be like, okay, lady, okay, let's get through this. So
I don't care about your fact your cat died.
Like you have to be present, you have to be listening. Like you said, just even if you're not responding, you're just sitting there and you are listening to the person. Like that makes them, it helps them get it off their chest, like you said, and then we can move forward with what we're doing. But they're in a better mood about it because now they've sort of addressed it.
Well, so even when if I go into, let's say, buy a car, and I have to sit and listen to this guy talk ad nauseum, I start going away. Like I know I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to wait for you to be done. Get over.
But it's the best car. It's the best price.
And I'm like,
you're getting all the luxuries.
Whatever. And then But when I go in and I'm talking to a guy and we connect,
Yeah.
like we don't have to be BFFs at the end, but he asks me questions,
Yeah.
gets me talking. Then I want to keep talking because everyone loves to talk about themselves.
Right.
And you give people a forum to talk about themselves, then they want to stay. They want to stay and hear more about what you have to offer. They want to stay, and the longer they're staying, the more likely you are to close that sale, and to gain that next sale, and to gain that referral. And that's the thing I'm trying to really enforce to my students. It's, everyone can learn technique. It's not hard.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of different things, and you can get as technical as you want. But surface-wise, it's just technique.
Right.
But learning how to really, the psychology of understanding what that person wants from you, they don't want you to stretch their shoulder. They want to feel better.
Yeah.
They don't want you to put lotion on their skin. They want to be relaxed. They want to be, and it's the same in sales. And you'll run into that a lot. Is that you have to talk about the feeling.
Of course.
Get people to feel in your marketing. It's not I have the best price. No one cares.
Yeah, nobody cares about that.
You're going to save enough money to go on vacation.
Yeah.
People care about that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. You see a lot of marketers that are like that. Well, we need to tell your story. It's your story. It's your story. And I said, nobody cares about the story. I'm sorry. Nobody cares. You can put your story out there in your about section, however many times, but how many people are actually going to spend the time to sit there and read and be like, oh yeah, okay, your grandfather inspired you to do all this and da-da-da. No, they don't care. They want to know what are you delivering, and is it good enough for what I'm looking for?
Well, to that point, I have an about story, but I also made sure that I told the things that people would care about.
Right.
So one of the things was I had suffered an injury. And
I read yours because I was rewriting your bio for the RCAS convention coming up. Yeah, so you give just enough information where you're like, hey, in 2017 I did this and this and this, and you're talking about like the board, I can't remember what it's called, the big long
MTech,
name.
Massage Therapy Technical Advisory Committee,
and how it was absorbed into something else, and you tell a good story, but you're not like you ever gone online and tried to like get a recipe for something, and then you've got to read 50 paragraphs about just absolutely nothing.
Their trip to
It's just
Tuscany
like what the weather was like and what kind of crops they grew in northern Kansas in 1912. And it's like, I don't care. I just want this potato casserole. I don't understand. Give me this recipe. Doesn't make any sense. So like, I don't need all that story.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but giving people, so that mine was actually curated because of my background in marketing to give a little information so people felt like they could know me if they wanted to. Inspire questions in case they wanted to know more, but be short enough to glance over if you don't. So it was really designed to, it's true, and I cherry-picked the things that would be most important to my target audience.
Yeah, for sure. And so I had an experience, what was it, last weekend? Okay, I get called in to, I play guitar and sing and all this. So I got called in to play at a wedding, at my friend's wedding, because she didn't have anybody, and my other friend that was organizing it told me at 10 o'clock the night before, and the wedding was on 10 o'clock the next morning. Great. So no time to practice whatsoever. Right. So I had to learn this new song that she wanted.
Oh, and there was a request on top of that.
It was a new song, yes.
Nice.
They were like, hey, you know this Ed Sheeran song? And I was like, no. And they're like, well, that's what we want. And I was like, okay, so I'll play that. Okay. So I had to learn that. And then I had the chords on my tablet, right? We go up, it's on a rooftop. I don't have a music stand or anything with me. I didn't know what the situation was going to be. I was like, surely I'll have somewhere I can sit my tablet, and then I can, no. And so my wife was there, and I'm like, hey, I need you to do a big favor. I need you to be my music stand for me. I need you to stand here and just hold my tablet while I play. And I was like, it doesn't show the whole page, and I was like, at some point, I'm going to have to like just sort of let the note ring, and then I'm going to have to flip it up, and then go to the rest, and then I'll just continue on there. I was like, just pay no attention to that. She heard in her mind, because she's got severe ADHD too, like attention is just like squirrel, you know what I mean? That's the kind of person she is, and so like, and plus we were on a rooftop, and you could hear traffic down below us, you know what I mean? There's airplanes and stuff going on. Anyway, so we get down, and I'm like, I'm not even halfway down the first page, and then she flips it up, and then I can't see any of the words or the chords, and I'm like, like, and I'm just making it up as I'm going, and like just playing some extra notes, and then I'm like hustling down, and then was able to continue on from there. And she's like, oops, I didn't know, it's sorry. And I was like, I just told you don't do that. But then we were talking, and I was just kidding around, and I was like, you know what? I was like, you're fired. I was like, you were interning, but I can't hire you. I'm sorry. And she was laughing, but then she was like, oh, so I can't work for you because I have a disability? Da, da, da. And I was like, oh God. I was like, I said, your job, I was like, oh, for somebody that has severe ADHD, your job in that moment was that I needed you to stand perfectly still and hold a tablet just like this for 5 minutes. And I was like, it didn't work. I can't, if that was what the position requires, I cannot hire you for that position. And I was talking about the same thing. She was like, well, what about your business doing marketing and all that stuff? And I was like, well, most of the job requires you to sit in front of a computer and be completely focused on one task. So if you're not able to do that, then you're not able to fulfill the responsibilities. And I understand that. Not to say there won't be, positions that will be able to fulfill with somebody with ADHD or any other disability or learning ability.
What I try to tell people is it's not the disability that I'm not hiring.
Yeah.
It's your ability to perform the job for
Right.
whatever reason.
Yeah.
If I need someone to carry someone's luggage up the stairs and you don't have legs, not the best job for you. It doesn't mean that I don't want to hire you because you have a disability. It means that's not the job for you.
Right.
Now that being said, could you be a greeter? Absolutely. Could you be on the computer 24/7 or would you focus? Maybe. I don't know. A big thing, and actually that brings it back to business. I get a little segue here. A big thing in business is hiring or promoting to failure. That's something that people don't think about. Is you have a rock star. They are on the floor. They are selling up a storm. They are doing the thing, and you make, oh my God, this person's a rock star. Let's make them a manager.
Oh,
and they
wrong
crap out.
position for them. Yeah.
And just because someone's been there for 25 years, or
Yeah.
someone's been in the business for for all their life, or someone's a rock star at what they're doing, it doesn't mean that they're not going to be great at a promotion. It just means that you need to consider that before you promote them.
Sure.
If they're rocking it out and they're happy, maybe just a raise will keep them happy. They don't necessarily need a different type of environment. There's a lot of people that have been in that salesy type of environment where they're going from place to place, they're mobile, they're dealing with clients, and you put them in a cubicle and they wither and die.
Yeah.
They fail, they do terribly, they end up getting discouraged with their jobs, and not everyone really sees that it was the promotion that killed them. People think promotions are always great, and they're not always great.
Yeah, that's true. So one of the, important to know your employees and like coworkers and partners and everything, like their personalities and stuff. Yeah, I would it's weird. Like back in the day when I was a serious introvert, working in a little area of my own, nobody's supposed to enter, and I'm the only one there. That would be great for me. Like I don't really have to deal with people. That's great. But like now, man, I'm like so used to it, like just moving around and going and talking to people that like it would be like suffocating. I'd probably get depressed if I sat there, by myself. And so it's like.
Well, exactly. Understanding that interplays can change. In this market, average job retention, average employee retention is about 1.5 to 2 years. The new workforce is moving along. And if you are cognizant of the changes in their life, then you can be that new job.
Yeah.
You don't have to lose the employee for them to have job satisfaction. You just have to give them the new experiences that they're looking for. So especially a young person, they're in their mid-20s, they're single, and they're having a certain lifestyle. Well, a certain lifestyle is going to fit a certain job.
Yeah.
Well, let's say they get married, start settling down. Well, maybe traveling 3 days a week isn't their jam anymore.
Right.
And if you want to keep them as a rock star, maybe figuring out how they can still fit into your environment and then incorporate the new path in their life, that's going to create loyalty and employee retention.
Sure. Absolutely.
You never thought you'd have to be a psychologist as a business owner, but yes, you do.
So did you go to college for business?
I did not.
Okay, I did not either. I was going to ask you if they teach anything like that in
They do
college
not.
when you go through there.
I know people that have done that.
Okay.
They do not.
Okay.
They do not. No, nobody teaches that. You have to go out into the world and fail, and then you hopefully figure it out.
Yeah.
Even, and I've got some clients that are in the psych world, and we talk about different things, and still, some of the paths that I've taken and the choices that I've made to become more aware of other people's psychology, not so much to be a psychologist, but to understand the psychology of purchase, of buying, of decision making, and understanding all that. I'm just a nerd, so that's fun for me. Is not taught. Even in those environments, they're taught. Here's the baseline. Here's normal. What do we do when we're above or below the line?
Right.
And it takes away the human aspect. Our education system does not focus on the human aspect of everything that we do, whether it be a business, whether it be. I went to not networking. I went to a dinner last night. It was a vendor dinner for my husband's company.
Vendor dinner.
Yeah, a vendor took the people out like, hey, I'm gonna spend money on you, buy my stuff. And I thought, oh well, I'm gonna go. Someone else is buying dinner, I'm in. And I'm sitting there and I'm reading the room and I'm looking at all the different people I haven't met before, and listening to the conversation. And I added a few things because I have opinions. You know me. And at the end, we get back in the car, we're driving home, and I'm like, all right, so-and-so's this, and so-and-so's this, and so-and-so's this. He's like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, because they were super obvious about it.
Yeah.
And so I knew exactly which one was the MBA. I knew exactly which one was, the ex-military. I knew exactly which one was, in these different positions. And, I'm like, and this person was way overwhelmed because they were way underqualified and way underprepared for the meeting, and was able to give all that information because I was paying attention. And everyone else there was blinders. Let's talk about what I want to talk about. Yeah. And I was one of the few people that was paying attention. So because I do that, then I connect with my clients better, and I gain that trust, and I have better, I refer out better, I have better outcomes, etc.
I teach people that when we have like workshops, teaching people how to network. That's another thing is like coming in, you read the room. Like literally every person in there is gonna be different. So you'll see the groups of people that are hanging out. They're very chummy with each other and all that stuff. It's like, oh, these people probably know each other, and they're and if they're being loud or whatever, they're outgoing type of people. Very easy to approach, but you'll always see like the few that are like walking around the outside edges of the room, like looking at the paintings or, just looking at the cover on the phone or something like
Waiting
that.
for it to be over. When have I stayed long enough to?
So they're there because they want to. Obviously, they're there for some reason, not another. It's to make network connections because they were told that this is what you're supposed to do, but not really sure how to do it, and just going through the motions, and like don't really like to talk to people in the first place. This is just something that's necessary, or their boss told them to go represent us at this thing, and they didn't want to. So like the way you approach each individual personality like that, it's going to be drastically different. Like if I walk to somebody that's doing the, reading the walls and scanning everything in the room, that type of thing, I'll probably just say something about something they're wearing, or something that if they're looking at something on the wall already, I'll say something about whatever it is that they're looking at the wall. You know what I mean?
Get their attention, but not too personal, because you don't want to get into their space too much, make them uncomfortable. But you want to know that you're inviting them into your space.
Yes. Yeah. And so it's easy for me to be like a smart ass, but I don't. So I tone that down a lot with them. You know what I mean? Because they don't really like that. It kind of deters people when the first thing you say when you meet them is smart ass comment. Right. So. Say something vaguely funny, you know what I mean? Just get them off, you know what I mean? So that they're more comfortable talking to you, like you said. So, yeah.
And when I'm having students work with clients, we have a active teaching clinic so that they actually come in with real clients. I only let them come in with clients I know, because I want to make sure that the client understands that they are to give me feedback afterwards and what's going on, and I know how they're going to react, and I'm not going to make them uncomfortable, and I get permission and all the things. But I also have more personal relationships, and oftentimes I find myself, I'll say something that the client is totally cool with, but it might be a little snarky, it might be a little something, and then I'll turn to the students and say, I can say that because we know each other. I've known this person for 9 years. I've been through it. They've had 2 kids. Blah. We go back. Don't say that to everybody.
Right.
So assuming everyone's your chum, I've seen people make that mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen business owners assume everyone is just as friendly as their friend group and just as chummy and just as on the same political side, on the same side of topics, on the same side of a lot of things, and alienate people. I always tell people, you don't have to agree with them to let them have their voice. And if you're providing a service, they get to have their voice. As long as they're not making a scene, they're not protesting and causing everyone to be uncomfortable, but they can have their opinions. They don't come to me for political advice. They come to me for physical help.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter to me if they're on one side or the other, and which side it has to do with me, I'll let them have it.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen also other people alienate people because they were like, you're a high-ranking executive in whatever business, and maybe you're successful to whatever level you think you are. Well, like most people in your area, in your town, they recognize you, they know who you are, and like you're just part of the environment, that they live in. And so, but like other people that you approach, and then they'll come up to me and be like, asking who they are, and would like introduce themselves and say, hey, I'm da-da-da, who are you? And they'll be like, you don't know who I am? And it's kind of like off-putting, because it's like you have this, you're so used to being recognized and everybody knowing who you are and how important you are, that when somebody comes in and they don't know who you are, like that's offensive to them. Like it's kind of crazy, you know what I mean? It's like you're not not everybody knows everybody,
Honestly, you pick any superstar right now. Pick
Yeah.
anybody, any top movie
Celebrity.
actor with a celebrity. Pick one. Put them in front of me.
Yeah, you're not going to know a lot of them today, and I don't either. So, like, especially since, you can be super famous off of YouTube or TikTok, especially. If you name a TikTok star, I'm not going to know who the hell that is. Especially, or like pop star radios and that, I don't know who they are.
I might know your name, but I don't know your face.
Maybe I read it somewhere, but I surely haven't heard your music, and I don't know who you are.
And even if I did, I would.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person where, music people know artists and all the things. I'm not a music person. So I'm like, hey, I like that song. Who sings it? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I might know the person's name who sings it, and I might know the song, but I don't necessarily put them together.
Yeah.
So I am oblivious. I know no one. I am Jon Snow. I know nothing.
So I had one more interaction. I'll end after this. So I had an interaction this week. Met somebody, ran into him. I've met him before, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was okay. I kind of got a feel for who he was because it was kind of the person, that would like check you out because you're the new person that was there, but also, standing up as tall and straight as possible. And like I got my jacket buttoned up, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking to my people and not really like laughing or being too genial, you know what I mean? I'm just, being like I don't know what you think of as like the super rich people back in the 90s in those movies, you'd watch, like a Richie Rich's dad or something like that, you know what I mean? So that's what you think of. So. But I know that you're just, you're in a small town not even running a small business. You work for somebody doing it, and it's strange. But anyways, we started talking about, being able to go out to different communities and like meet people and all this stuff. And he mentioned something that happened to be my friend, and was like, yeah, I had lunch with that person last year, and we have different philosophies. Is what he said. We have different philosophies about life and business, where she is a mile wide and an inch deep, and I like to stay in one place and be super deep. And I was like, it's a really douchey thing to say, you know what I mean? But I was like, you don't know that that's my friend either. And also, you're operating out of like one of the smallest towns in Arkansas.
Well, I always say that, and I'm not from Arkansas, and that's where I have this perspective from, is I call it the town of Arkansas.
The town of Arkansas.
Everyone, I don't care where you are, north, south, east, west, central, they're going to act like they live in a small town. And they act like you live in the same small town.
Yeah.
So obviously we must be neighbors and maybe kin.
Yes. Probably kin. We're probably related somewhere down the line, yes.
And that mentality is really terrible for marketing because they think, well, I've heard of Bob. Obviously you have too, so we don't need to talk about Bob.
Exactly.
And I really work with people on that as far as, not everyone knows Bob.
Yes.
And but you'll find that people who are, have a name that's put on some buildings are like, yeah, I'm that guy. And I don't know who you are, dude.
Yeah. Sorry.
And if they want to be that person, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think the point you're trying to make, and I agree with it. I was totally off topic there, but I think it is, you don't know who the person you're talking to knows.
Yeah.
They may know the most important person on the planet. They may know no one. You don't know.
Right.
And being disparaging to someone, he could have stopped that at, we have different philosophies.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have this opinion.
Right.
But he had to take it to the next level. So taking it to the next level, that was unnecessary.
Yeah.
So he can have that attitude. He can have that opinion.
Fine. If you want to stay in a small town and have great, deep-rooted connections to your probably relatives, then that's probably fine.
But the point is, you don't have to tell people that until, ever really, but especially until you know who they are and who they know. And like your BFFs drinking shots on a creek bed somewhere, 2 a.m. something, talking about solving the world's problems.
That's very specific. I don't know if this ever happened to you before, but that's for sure. For you of Arkansans.
No, it's like
we can tell our deepest secrets when we're shooting whiskey on the creek bed.
It's from several country songs. I figure it's a thing. I'm not from Arkansas.
It's a country song. It's gotta
a couple.
Yeah, definitely so. All right. Well, anything else to add to this?
I don't think so. I think we have made some. We can plant a flag on this one.
Put a flag. All right. Well, if you are an audio listener, you can always catch us on YouTube. Always search us for Healthy Business Podcast, and also we're on all the different audio podcasting.
Review, like, share.
All those. Yes. Review it, like it, share it, comment it.
If you didn't listen to our last episode, you need to review, like, share, or send us an email. We'll review, like, share for you, and then we'll maybe give you a shout out.
Oh yeah, for sure. Message us, send us something. Yeah, for sure. I noticed a lot of people. So like when I was creating the bio pages for everybody who's going to be on the panel at ArtCast, like a lot of them gave me their. So Anchor is the program that we use to distribute everything to. They would just give me the link to their Anchor page, which is weird because like nobody goes to Anchor to just listen to a podcast there, but it does have all the links to like everywhere that it is, and so like Spotify, Podbean.
It is the podcast.
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
Yes.
Yeah, people don't give out business cards. People, if you want to know how old school someone is, walk up to them and try to get the information. They're either going to hand you a business card, which is like, oh, yeah, you're 30 plus, or they're going to send you to their Facebook. Maybe not Facebook, but their online presence. They're going to give you one of their socials, and that's going to have all the information that you need to get in touch with them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I lose those. So I'm terrible with that. Whenever, like, especially the artists, that's the first time I ran into it was when I went to Louisiana, and like all the artists there, like none of them have business cards. They all have QR codes that you scan with your phone, and then it brings up their Instagram or their Linktree or whatever.
However they want you to contact them.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll look at this later. Man, I'm closing down my browser later, and I'll completely forget about that. You know what I mean? So as opposed to something physical like a card that's in my pocket where I have to do something with this.
So you're 30 plus.
Yeah, I understand.
Target audience. So I mean, I'm with you.
But I mean, like with that new way of thinking, like you're also losing a lot of like, it's not the same. Like you're back in my day, I know that's how it sounds, but like you're losing that extra step that would like help you stay in contact with that person.
So if you
unless you just put them in your phone.
If you really want to stay in contact with someone, don't give them your number, take theirs.
Yeah.
Because, hey, can you have a card? No, but let me get your number. I'll shoot you an email.
Yeah.
Or I'll shoot you a text. That solidifies that connection a little bit better because you're taking the initiative to not only they wanted to reach out to you or wanted to reach out to you, but then you take control of that and say, I'll make it happen.
Yeah. I think the most awkward ones are those popples. Have you seen those?
Yes.
Those
so weird.
dumb things that you just tap on your phone, like they never work
the
way they're supposed
to.
to.
I thought I saw a video. I thought it was so cool. Bought one for my sister-in-law because she's young and hippish and cares about stuff like that. And she could never get it to work. And I thought since she wasn't tech savvy because she's not. And then I got it, and then I'm like, well, it doesn't work either for me. So maybe we're all just kind of tech dumb.
Yeah, you got to hold on just the right place at the right amount of time, and it's right. It's crazy.
I'm sure they'll improve the technology, but right now it's not there.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely not there. So, all right. Well, until next time, we'll say bye.
Bye.
And keep your business healthy.